Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Eli Stefansky, Afreilichen Chanukah. I just spoke about this. This is the basement where I'm giving the shir to myself. Nobody in the room. Although Moti Belsky, I just saw offered to come over, but we just got from the airport. We are in transit. So we left Utah this morning. It was still dark. In other words, it was before sunrise when we left. And we got here after Shkia, because there's a 2-hour difference. Because it's a full day traveling. I lit the menorah, and I'm giving shir now. And then off to the airport to catch a flight to Eretz Yisrael. Be'ez Hashem, we'll be back in Eretz Yisrael on Thursday. First shir in English will be Friday morning. First shir in Hebrew, Thursday night. Rabbi Sai, more stuff. Let me read this. I want to take a moment to thank everyone whose hard work made the Shabbaton possible, all those who attended, and especially all those who took the time to come over to me and introduce themselves. The Daf Shirim were great, the food was great, the dancing was great, and the speeches were great. But above all, meeting and connecting genuinely with so many Jews from around the globe, many of whom look very different than me, and to feel that sense of inclusion, unity, and connection to each other was incredibly powerful. A reminder that when the Jewish people come together, we're unstoppable. No doubt, Hashem is very proud of what he saw in Stanford this past weekend, with gratitude to be part of this MDY family and wishing all a Chanukah filled with light. CN, not an actual Nazir. That's the one who, okay, now I get it. Not an actual Nazir. So the guy that wrote it is CN, the guy with the tzitzis on the outside. The chassid has his tzitzis on the inside. B'kitzur, this is a picture. Oh, I got to show it like this. Oh, okay. We have a yeshiva guy, 2 yeshiva guys, chassid, and not an actual Nazir. Givaldik. What else do we have today? That's in English, in Hebrew. Thank you to yourself and the entire MDY staff for a most intense, memorable, and uplifting Shabbaton of Chizuk and Achdus. We returned to Montreal by car last night, but I still haven't landed. Listen to this line. I feel like I've been connected to a spiritual IV drip since Friday afternoon, pumping me nonstop with the love for learning, my MDY family, and Hashem. Halavai, it lasts the whole year. Why shouldn't it if we daf each day? Baruch Hashem, just made my first MDY recruit tonight, our 11-year-old son. I think I possibly also just chapped what you mean when you say that the greatest gift to you is to bring another yid to the daf. When my son agreed to the challenge, I felt overcome with joy, like I just won the lottery and he hasn't even started. The thought of him gaining musagim, yirat shamayim, experience self-discipline, and geschmack and learning is over the top. Imagine self-confidence it gives a child. Warm regards, your Chavrin Talmud from Kiddushin Daf Bet, Ilan Chaim Golan. And when the Olam got together and they got my sons to do the daf, who they're going very strong, because they send me aris all the time, and my son's like, why did you say the story? He didn't say that, but he made like this sour face. He said the story about me in court, shkoyach for throwing me under the bus there. I did it on purpose. I want to see if you're doing the share. Rabbi Sai, this guy's name is Shragi Rubello, something like that. I forgot his name. Sorry. He made a siyum. Maybe Mark Ashkenazi knows his name. Here's the siyum he made. Rabbi Sai, here it goes. This has volume.
Thank you to the person who made this possible, but I call my Rabbi, Eli Stefansky. From all his funny jokes, told mean jokes, he makes everyone laugh and most of all enjoy the Torah. When I was introduced to Rabbi Eli Stefansky from a friend of mine on Thursday, June 27th, I didn't think much of it. Then came Sunday, June 30th. My beloved neighbor and the Gabbai Rabbi Yossi Basker Zatzal suddenly had a massive heart attack. At that time, my dear father told me we should take upon something to do better as a sfus. I took upon myself to just learn for 1 month the Daf Yomi. I started the very next morning, which at that time, my father's friend Chaim gave me a shout out. Since that day, Baba Basar, I never missed a day. I want to thank the MDY family and editors who put in so much work and make everything possible.
Okay. Rabbi Yisai, the Daf is sponsored. We have 4 Masechta sponsors. Refuah Shelaima for Yosef Chaim Shmuel Ben Alte Nechama from his grateful family. The Masechta is sponsored for Atzlacha Berukni, so Begashmiyos. The Masechta is sponsored by Larry Cohn in memory of Yechiel Moshe Ben Chaim Vieta, who started learning the Daf the Daf Yomi at age 70 and continued for 32 years until he was nifter, the Masechta sponsor for the unity of the Jewish people. Parnas HaChodesh, for a fasting complete Refuah Shelaima for Shmuel Nechemia Ben Hinda. Parnas HaChodesh, Nishmas Silya Bas Dvora. Parnas HaChodesh, Nishmas Ben Mair Ben Zev Dovid Hashem Yikam Damer. Parnas HaChodesh, Nishmas Zechrya Ben Moshe, Nishmas Chai Bas Yosef. Parnas HaChodesh, Yosef Ben Chai Sarah for Parnas Berevach. Parnas Hayoim, Mazel Tov to Avi and Rosalie Hauptman on the marriage of the granddaughter Michal Eckstein to former lone soldier Avi Bursztyn, both of Teaneck, New Jersey. Rabbi Willie Balk, Lezeicha Nishmas, my grandfather, Mr. Edward Balk, Yehuda ben Yaakov, who was nifter on Tuesday morning. Yehi Zichrei Baruch, his neshama should have an aliyah. Parnas Hayoim, Eli Ashir, Refuah Shelaima, David ben Dina. Wow. So somebody who's nifter on Tuesday morning. Today is Wednesday. So he was just nifter, and Rabbi Willie Balk is putting in a sponsorship. Wow. Thank you, Rebelli, Yossi Klein, and for everyone who made Shabbos inspiring and amazing. From Mordechai and the Zapaznik family, they were all there. I met Mordechai's brother. I danced with him. Art of the month for Schus. We have one sponsor for the Schus for Rebelli and the whole MDY staff to continue to make Torah so enjoyable for so many. Art of the month in honor of Yossi Klein and Mark Ashkenazi for all the work they do. It's incredible. So this morning, I'll just tell you, because I wanted to make sure that the Hebrew speakers, they get a shir, so I had to get up super early, and I delivered the shir at, I think it was 6 in the morning in Utah. So Mark Ashkenazi was there with me doing the shir. It was more like 8 o'clock in New York, but it was early in the morning, and here he is again, almost 12 hours later, 11 hours later, doing a shir. So he's always there for the shir, never says no, never complains. He's always, besimcha, of course I'm available. What's the shaila? And then I find out he's in his car with his mishpacha, driving somewhere on Chanukah. Rabbi Isai, we have an amazing daf today. You know what's amazing? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his ways. We know Sanhedrin is a very, very long Masechta, in other words, in terms of words per daf. It so happens to be that the day that I'm super traveling, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us one of the shortest dapim probably in the Masechta, and Be'ezer Hashem is going to be a shorter shir. So to go over what we learned yesterday, amazing the way Yoshi put it together here, just puts it all together. We have a machlokes in the Mishnah, whether a person who's moitzi shemra, do we need a bezin of 3 or 23? Moitzi shemra is a husband who just got married. He claims that he didn't find besulim for his wife, and therefore he doesn't have to give her a ksuba that you would give an unmarried woman, a woman who's never married before, which is 200. He wants to give her a ksuba of 100 or no ksuba at all because she's mizana. It could also turn into a case of chiyuv misa, capital punishment, because if she in fact was mizana, she's considered a true eishesish. He gave her erusin, he gave her a ring, and during that time she's considered a eishesish. If there's witnesses, she'd be chayiv misa. If there's hasra, witnesses, the whole thing. What is the machlokes? Why does Reb Meir say that it's a bezin of 3? When the husband comes to bezin and he claims, my wife, limutzasi, the bitcha psulim, he tells the father, it's in front of 3. Whereas Chacham say, no, it's in front of 23. The Gemara brings 8 different possibilities in the machlokes. And to make it super easy, we have these beautiful charts, and here's the first one. Yesterday we learned Ula. We learned a few of them, 3 or 4. Ula says, but what's amazing about the sugya is that it goes through 8 different machlokes and 8 different musagim in Shas. So when we learn this sugya, we learn about different things that, chazara in terms of edim zaymimim and different halachas in edim zaymimim. Maybe it's related to something else. And here we go. Ula says, are we concerned, so to speak, when a husband comes to Bezdin the morning after his wedding and he starts complaining about his wife, people are going to talk. And there might be 2 people that witness that she's in fact mizana. They saw her going with somebody else. Reb Meir says we have nothing to be concerned. No, that it's not going to turn into a whole circus where other Edom step forward. And therefore, let's just do it in a regular bezin of 3. He's trying to get out of paying 200. He wants to go to 100 or 0, whatever it is. That's a monetary din Torah 3. Chacham say no. We have to be chayshish. Maybe the Edom will create this rumor of a husband going to bezin will create a situation where Edom come, testify that she was mizana, and therefore it's a capital case. A capital case is 23. It's Misa in this 23. That's yesterday. Ula. Another thing that we saw yesterday is Rava. Rava says, are we concerned about the honor, the kavod of the Dayanim? What happened was we had a husband that claimed that his wife was mizana. I could prove it. So they gathered 23 people just in case they have to kill her. Turns out that he's making up a story. As usual, he's a Moitzi Shemra. That's his name actually in the Torah, Moitzi Shemra. He doesn't have Edom. Yet he still wants to get out of the monetary thing. So now you don't need 23, you need 3. Oh, do we send the 20 home and say, listen, we don't really need your services? Or perhaps that's not so bakavadik for a dayan who already was there. Do we leave them or not? That's the whole shayla. Then we have Abaya. Abaya says, no, you know what? Everybody could agree that we're choshesh for the kavod. Everybody could agree that we're choshesh maybe people step forward and there will be, but we have another machlekes. These little characters on these sheets are very cool. Do we have to say, you see they're pointing to the big stone, do the Edom, when they tell the woman, hey, if you're mizana, you'll get misa, do they have to say which misa? There's 4 misas, it could be chenek, it could be sreifa. They forgot to mention that it's going to be stoning. It's going to be skila. Is that a problem? So Rabbi Yehuda says, you have to, in order to, for the hasra, the warning, it has to be done properly with the type of death. And therefore, they didn't do that, so she cannot be put to death. It's just a monetary din Torah. And Chacham say, no, you don't have to describe exactly what death. You're going to die. Who cares what type of death? With lethal injection, the electric chair, that doesn't matter. You're going to die. And Memela, let's put her to death, and we need a bezin of 23. And now, Rabbi Isai, we're holding on today's daf. All the way in the bottom of Daf Amud Beis, Ravashi Omar Kigoin da Asru Bey Malkus V'le Asru Bey Ktala. Oh, sorry. There's one more. We have Rapapa from yesterday. Rapapa says, we're talking about a woman here. Let's see. Is she going to walk by this lady? No. Hold on. Here's Rapapa. No, I don't know what happened. Okay. Let's go back to Rav Papa. So Rav Papa says, we're talking about a case where a woman is a Talmida Chachama. She knows her stuff. And the machlokes is, do you have to warn somebody that knows their stuff? Talmid Chacham, you have to warn him that you're going to get the death penalty if you Michal Shabbos. You have to tell a Talmid Chacham such a thing. He knows it. Chacham say, everybody needs Hasra. Whether you're Talmid Chacham or not, Talmid Chacham says you don't need. So if you don't need Asra, over here, they didn't do Asra. They didn't warn this woman that she's going to get the death penalty. Memela, Tanakama says, you don't need Asra, and therefore you could do a bezin of 23, put her to death. Rameir says, no, you need Asra, and since there's no Asra, she's not going to be put to death. And finally, we're up to our sugi today. Ravashi Omar, another shayla. So again, what's the question? What is the source of the machlokes? In what is Rameir and Chacham? What are they arguing about when Rameir says that a Moitzi Shemra requires a bezin of 3, and Chacham say no, he requires a bezin of 23? It's talking about the Asr Bey Malkus, the Asr Bey Ktala. What happened was they didn't tell this woman she's going to die. They said you're gonna get Malkus. You're over on a lav is Malkus. If there's no misa, there's Malkus. Now, the question is a machlokes. When you do a din Torah about Malkus, you say somebody ate chaylev. Do you need 3 people in the bezin or 23 people in the bezin? It's machlokes between Chachamim and Shmuel. If you need 23, so that's Chachamim. If Rameir says you need 3, the Rabbi Shmuel v'Rabbanan desnan makois b'shloisha Shaila, do you need 3 or 23? Now, Ravina Omar, now we're going to see 3 Ravinas now. Ravina Omar, apostle. It's a beautiful Shaila. All these are Mair Dika Machloikesin. It's a question of, so I just want to say again, what I said, this is my brother's basement. So I said in Shir once, if you didn't hear it, I was giving a Shir, that was in Hebrew, to myself, like today, right now, nobody in the room. And the night before, I gave a Shir to 1,000 people in Borough Park. And I thought to myself, that's Daf Yomi. Some days it goes, it's Geschmack. 1,000 people, oh, Gewaldig. What a Kiddush Hashem, what a Chizuk. It was very emotional the whole time. It's like, wow, like, it's not realistic. It's like surreal. I'm sitting there with 1,000 people. You know, it's hard to get used to. And then the next morning, poof, you're by yourself, not even one person. The last few days were very, very difficult. You were very, in terms of being exhausted. Just the actual skiing is very exhausting. It's very demanding on the body, and 0 sleep, and coming off a Shabbaton with very, very, very little sleep, and dancing, and just my muscles were aching and everything. Just to give shiurim is just very difficult. But that's Daf Yomi. There's no stopping, and there's no excuses, and you go and you go. Here, share with 0 people, we go. It's Geschmack. So says the Gemara, we had a Zal Machlokes. That what? Apostle, 5 lines from the top. So what happened was, one of the Eidim is a relative. Now, the Stan, we're talking about a situation where there's 3 Eidim. One of them happens to be a brother, okay? Let's say. But you don't need 3 Eidim. All you need is 2 Eidim to convict somebody. So perhaps the 3rd Eid is nothing. So he's puzzled, throw him out, toss him out, ignore him, disregard him, and they have 2. And with 2 Eidim, there's a lot you can do. Or perhaps no. All 3 are in the same boat, and if one is bad, all 3 are bad. So that's Machlokes. Look at the Yosef, Ali, the Refuah. It's not Refuah. Omer loy bo shlishi elo lahachmir olav. So we know the famous pasuk. Let me see if I can get to it. Oh, everybody knows this pasuk. Al pi shnei edim, oy al pi shloisha edim yakum davar. So the obvious question is, if 2 Eidim are good enough for any case, even a capital case, so why does the Torah say, or 3 Eidim? 3 is not necessary. Says Rabbi Kiva, it's necessary to tell me that if 3 Eidim are testifying, and one of them is no good, one of them is a relative, then all 3 are no good. Even though 2 is enough, but in this case, since you have 3, we toss out the entire case. So, Imkain, says the Gemara, the 3rd guy is like the rest of them. They're all in the same boat. So therefore, says the Gemara, beautiful concept, a beautiful idea in Yiddishkeit, that if we don't need you, yet you're there, you are like the rest of them, and you ruin it for all of them. So certainly when it comes to mitzvah, if you're there, you're helping out, let's say, your friends are making a siyum, and you go and you help out in the kitchen. You're part of it. You're one. It's as if you did it yourself. Just like by the avera, it's as if you did it yourself and you ruined the whole thing for everybody. So do by the mitzvah. I just want to read this Rashi. So it says Rashi. What's the Kal V'chomer? It's a famous concept. It says Rashi, the Kaimelon. Mida toiva, Mida toiva meruba memidas puranos. We know that the good is much more than. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that one. There's a better one. Here, let's do this one. The Kobe did. The Kaimelon Mida toiva meruba memidas puranos. That what? That the good is 500 times, 510 more, whatever it is. Mida time is much more than the bad. So by bad, if you are part of a group that's doing wrong, you are considered part and parcel of them. So too, if you're in a group that's doing good, you're part and parcel. There was a guy, David Rubin, something like that. I have his name here somewhere. David Yitzchak Rubin. He was at the Tish by Slonim back in the day, and he would fall asleep every Friday night. He was exhausted from working so much. He would fall asleep by the Tish. So they asked him, "Why do you come to the Tish? You fell asleep every single time. What's the point?" So he said, "If you're on a bus and you fall asleep, you're not going to get to your destination. You get to your destination. As long as you're here, you enjoy the benefits." There's a lot of truth to it. In other words, I'm not saying it's the best thing, but you come to a shir every day, you fall asleep. There's people that come to shir, as soon as the shir starts, they're up for the emails, they're up for the and as soon as the Gemara, if it's not interesting, they're gone. Is there a mitzvah in that? You're nitbal lo'isei mitzvah. You're part of a group that's doing a mitzvah. It's a beautiful story that Reb Zev Cohn from Chicago said once. It made a big roish on me. And it wasn't even like such a murder, but he said it. So, there's a guy that every single night he would come home from work, exhausted, open up a Gemara, and fall asleep. So one of his kids asked him once, like, "What are you doing? Like, just go to sleep, get in bed and go to sleep." He says, "No, I want to show my children what's important to me. It happens to be that I fall asleep every day, but this is what's important to me. I want to learn. I don't have the koyach right now." Okay, but you nitbal lo'isi mitzvah. It's better to be part of a chabura, a group of people that are doing mitzvahs, and that's as if you did the whole mitzvah. Now the Gemara continues. If you have two Eidim and one of them is a relative, what's the halacha? The entire thing goes out the window. So too, if you have three people, by the way, I just show you real quickly. I thought maybe to have this in the background. It's a gym. And I was like, nah. So we'll at least just show it for a second. But it's never going to be the same. Okay. Hopefully it's almost there. I'm in a gym giving a shir. If one of the two witnesses is a relative, what's the halacha? It's over. So too, three, so too, we have three. If one of the three is apostle, this is batal. So let's say you have Hazama. You have, here, let's show the case of Hazama. You have a case where, here, it's new. Beautiful. Let's do it again. We have the two Eidim say, Imanu Yisam. I was wondering how come we have. They're testifying, those two guys with the binoculars, they're testifying that the four Hasidim were on a cruise when the Hasidim testified that this woman was Mizan or whatever they're testifying. If one of those people, so basically, all three become, all four, if there's a Hazama, Imanu Yisam, all four are put to death. Even if you have 100, the same thing applies. All 100 go 5 out the window because one of them is a apostolatus. And the Gemara continues. So what's the machlokes between Mair and Chacham? How do we know this? Talmud loymar eidim. Here. So if you see, why does the Torah tell us the word eidim twice? Even if you want to say 2 and 3, so say al pishnei pishnayim oy shloisha eidim. You don't have to say shnei eidim shloisha eidim. Just one eidim at the end. The extra eidim tells us this halacha, that they're all included, and if one of them is no good, they're all no good. Continues Rabbi Yossi. That's great when they come to kill. So if you find that one of them is a relative, they're all no good. But when it comes to monetary disputes, if you have 3 Eidim, one of them is no good because he's a relative, then you still have 2 remaining Eidim that are testifying that so and so owes money. Rabbi Yomer, but this machlokes. Rabbi argues and he says no. Even by monetary disputes, if one of the 3 Eidim is a relative, all 3 are not good Eidim. V'masai, bisman shehisru bahem. They made a asra, they made a warning to the relative. Avo bizman shel yizrahen. But if there was no hasra, by the way, I said this in Hebrew, so I'll say it also here, that as a caterer, I found that one of the people that knows the most halachas when it comes to a ksuba and these kind of things, hilchos, edim, because we're talking about edim and kroivim, because it sometimes happens by chasana, people don't realize that this person is a karav, he married, whatever, the certain kurva. So one of the people that is the most knowledgeable at a wedding, you'll ask anybody, is the photographer. Because we used to do weddings in Chicago, in North Lake. That's where the Midwest Conference Center is. So it's very hard to spell it, and what city, what are the rivers that are next to it. Ask the photographer. He's been to so many weddings. He knows all the halachas. Says the Gemara, if they didn't warn the relative. So here, it's a question in every wedding. Don't you have witnesses at every chasana that, there's two brothers witnessing that they're getting married? So then the whole kiddushin is no good. You just ruin the kiddushin because you have two kroivim that witness this. Let me just see if I could make this a little taller so I don't have to. Okay. Sorry. Maybe that will help a little bit. Okay. What if two brothers and a third guy that's not related witness the death? So the murder is going to go scot-free because two of the witnesses are related, and if two of the witnesses are related, it ruins the entire testimony? No. What's the difference? Because there's no hasra on all three. You had to walk over to all three and say, listen, if you're going to lie here, you're going to be put to death, or whatever it is. Okay, so so let's go back. So we have a machlokes here between, let's see if we can find it here. Oh. Now, what happened was, we have a case where there was three Eidim, and one of them is a relative. So we have a machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and Rebbe, whether the relative ruins it only in monetary cases, or, only in capital punishment cases, or even in monetary cases. So according to Meir, it ruins it. There's no edus over here. So in Mela, you can't do the, so you do a regular bezdin of 3. But according to Chachamim, we need a bezdin of 23. Ravina Amar, so that's the first Ravina. V'boy saying my second Ravina is Kigoin. So Nechama, according to Meir is going to hold, like Rabbi Yossi, that what? That if one of the Eidim is puzzle, even though they didn't do Hasra, they didn't warn the guy, all of them are puzzle, and therefore we're reduced to a bezdin of 3. That's Meir. Meir is going to hold like Rabbi Yossi. Chacham hold Rabbanan that we don't reduce it to a bezdin of 3. It remains a good bezdin. It remains a good capital punishment case, and therefore we need a bezdin of 23. It's machlokes Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanan. The stand Rabbi Yossi Omer Loilo made a nera got you pi shnei edov masrimbo. You need the mouth of the edim to do the hasra. Also shenemar al pi shnayim edim. Everything has to be with the mouth of the edim. And finally, case number 8, or pshat number 8. We're talking about, there's two things when witnesses come and say so-and-so deserves to die, so we have to check if the witnesses are saying the truth. We bring them into, in Hebrew it's chakirat, in English it is, the police, they not an interview, whatever the word is. You know what I'm talking about, right? You don't have to send the email. Everybody's going to chop what it is. Maybe it'll come soon. So they ask him all different questions. Now, the first thing is the chakiras. That you have to pass with flying colors. You have to know what day it is, what time, what place. You can't say it happened in Utah when in fact it happened in New York. That's not going to work. So if the two Eidim mess up on that, it's over. If one Eid said it happened on Monday and the other one said on Tuesday, it's over. But then they ask bedikas. Bedikas is very minute things. What color glasses was he wearing? What color socks did he have? Did he have MDY socks? Not the whole thing. What if they mess up on the bedikas, on the smaller things? So the Gemara says here, for instance, the ben zakai verabbanan desnan maisu bodak ben zakai beuktzei te'ainim. Here's uktzei te'ainim. What if the Bezdin said, oh, you say that the murder happened under a fig tree? How thick were the stems of the figs? Were they very thick, medium? If there's a machloiks between the two Eidim on how thick the stems were, it's over. If it's over, it's not a case about Misa, capital punishment. It's just a case of Maminas. Okay, so then you just need a Bezdin of 3. So the question is, do we passel or do we disregard the testimony regarding the capital punishment case, and therefore, if you disregard it, you don't need 23. 3 is enough. Or if you don't disregard it, it's not such a big deal. If they mess up on a small detail, then you could kill you could use a Bezdin of 23 and kill the person. Omer Avi Yosef, new case, new sugya. So those are the 8 different pshatim in the machlokes between Meir and Chacham, whether you need a Bezdin of 3 or 23. Omer Avi Yosef. Oh, I like this myself. If we're talking about chakiras and dikas, there was an attorney, a defense attorney, that was cross-examining all the witnesses. Asking questions back, forth. And at one point, there was recess. The judge and the other lawyers, they stepped out. So the lawyer asked his client, the one that's accused for murder, asked him, no, how did I do? You like my cross-examination? He said, you did so well that at a certain point, I was convinced that I'm not the murderer. All right, Zok the Gemara. Omar Rav Yosef, Hevi Abal Eidim Shezinso. Great case. Let's see if there's any art here that I need to know about that I didn't have in the morning. No. Okay. Hevi Habal Eidim Shezinso. The husband claims that his wife was mizana and therefore she deserves the death penalty. Right? And who's he complaining to? He's complaining to the father. I didn't find your daughter. So in defense, and the husband does one of the father does one of these. He brings Adam, the 2 guys from the ship. No, all the Adam were on a cruise. Now, what happens? They're chayiv misa. These guys, these Hasidic guys, they wanted to kill the woman because they said she was mizana. Now, the halacha is that if you try to kill somebody, and we find that you're Muslim, you were there, so we put you to death. What else did they want to do? They wanted to create a situation where she doesn't get a ksuba. So 2 things. They wanted her to lose money, and they also wanted her to die. So if somebody tries to do 2 things in one shot, he only gets 1 punishment, the greater of the 2. What is that called? It's called Kamlei B'derabminei. This is beautiful sugya. Hevi abal Eidim shezinso. The husband brought Eidim that the wife is mizana. Hevi av Eidim v'zimum leidei abal. And the father came and brought Eidim that says that these Eidim that the husband brought were imanu yisim, they're on a cruise ship. Eidei habal ne'erogim. So those guys on the cruise ship, they die. Ve'ein mishal memameh. Because there's a concept called Kimlei B'derabminei. You only get 1 of the 2 punishments, the greater of the 2. Memela, the husband, the Eidim of the husband, they only die and they don't have to pay the ksuba, whatever the ksuba is worth at that point. So just to show you, we have a little bit of a clip here. The same concept occurs on Shabbos. Let's say on Shabbos, a guy does 2 averos, or he does 2 things. He shoots an arrow on Shabbos, which goes more than 4 amas, so he's chayiv misa on the arrow, and at the same time he ruined somebody's clothing. He's only chayiv 1. Okay. He's only chayiv misa on the Isser Shabbos and not money on the clothing, because we can only punish a person once for 1 action. But says the Gemara, an unbelievable chiddush, that we didn't know this until now. Now it's a yo-yo. There's 2 Eidim that say that this woman was Mizana. There's 2 Eidim that say that these 2 Eidim are liars. Now there's another 2 Eidim that say these 2 Eidim are liars, that they lied. You were never on a cruise ship. You never testified that the Hasidim were on a cruise ship. The original Hasidim are right. The middle guys are Hazama. We kill the middle guys. What about the money that they wanted to cause the husband to pay? So says the Gemara, here's a big chiddush. They die and they pay. Why? Since the Eidim were trying to kill the Eidim, but they also wanted the husband to pay ksuba. So the money was to a different entity, and the death penalty was to a different entity. The death was to the Eidim, the money was to the husband. So Melai could be mechayiv them 2 different things. We'll kill them for trying to kill the Eidim, and we'll be mechayiv them money for trying to be mechayiv the husband of ksuba. V'omer Rav Yosef, v'omer halacha, and then we're done for today. V'omer Rav Yosef, pleni re'avai la'intzai. If somebody testifies that somebody had relations with him, but against his will, he was over and isser their rights against his will, hu v'acher mitztarfim la'hargai. He could be part of the witnesses. You need 2 witnesses to kill the offender. He's one of the witnesses. But what happens if he says, L'rtzoynai? What if he says, I did it willfully? Rashu. Then he turns into a Rasha, because he just did it Isser. We don't listen to his testimony. Why? Because he's a Rasha, and a Rasha can't testify. He's admitting that he had relations with another man. So says the Gemara, so this is the famous concept called Palginon Dibure. And that is, Rava says a person is not believed on himself to say that he did it Isser. He's not believed. Ein Adam Meisimatz Rasha. A person can't say about himself that he's a Rasha. But he said that the other guy was over Isser Deraisa. Ploni Ravai, L'rtzoynai. So we do Palgin in the Bori, we chop his sentence in half. Ploni Rivani. So and so had relations with me. L'rtzoynai, willfully, that I dismiss, I don't listen to. And therefore I do have an aid that testifies that the guy is chayiv misa plus the other aid, and finished. I'll just finish off on this. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz once got up in his later years, and he said, Rabbi Isai, I'm a huge Talmud Chacham. I know Kol HaTorah Kula. I'm a big Bal Midas. I work on my Midas. I even give Shiurim, Sichas Musar, the famous Sichas. I'm this, I'm that. I don't have many chesroinus at all. And everybody's sitting there thinking, okay, we thought maybe he's getting older. It looks like he became fakalach. And then he said, you know what? You're all guilty of this. Everybody thinks they're perfect. Everybody thinks that they don't have chesroinus. Everybody thinks they're the best. A person never says about himself that he did some isurim, that he has to do tshuva. Nothing. He's all good. Everybody. What are you looking at me like I'm crazy? You're crazy. We're all crazy. We all talk like that, we all think like that. We don't talk like that, but we think like that. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you Be'ez Hashem next time from Eretz Yisrael live in Ramat Bet Shemesh. A Freilichen Chanukah.